Planning for intellectual quality relates to Standard 1, know students and how they learn. Standard 2, know the content and how to teach it. Standard 3, plan for and implement effective teaching and learning. And Standard 5, assess, provide feedback and report on student learning. I think it is important to teach children how to think rather than what to think. To provide students with the know-how and tools necessary to provide them with the ability to source significant knowledge and to comprehend deep understandings. This is much different from presenting students with facts to remember or providing information to passively absorb. Deed on page 71 says that intellectual quality can be achieved if students are engaged in higher order thinking, if learning focuses on the deep knowledge of the subject, if pedagogy focuses on producing deep understanding, and if students are engaged in substantive communication about the things they are learning. All of this requires planning. Students need to be able to evaluate the world around them so that in adulthood they are able to draw conclusions based on their own reasonings rather than blindly accepting what they are told by various information sources, most notably the media. Therefore, planning must focus on the major concepts and principles of a content area. Students need to be given the opportunity to actively engage with these central ideas so that these become truly familiar to them, and they are able to adapt what they have learnt to new contexts, draw conclusions and solve problems, synthesize information and critically evaluate. Choice of strategies becomes important here. To actively engage with the major concepts in a subject area, the student needs to be given the opportunity to explore and investigate content so that they can construct their ideas and decide whether to keep or discard existing notions. Building problem solving in inquiry-based learning into unit and lesson plans, for example, provides students with the means to direct their own learning and draw their own conclusions rather than having content presented to them on a plate. This is very much in keeping with the constructivist theorists who value actively engaging with the world as a means of learning. In fact, ensuring that students do this in groups substantially enhances this learning by giving students the benefit of being able to communicate with and bounce ideas off their peers, and consequently learning from the social learning situation. Planning for intellectual quality also necessitates a continual and authentic assessment of learning. If there is an emphasis on significant understandings, then there also has to be continual monitoring that the understanding students are gaining are in fact significant. To assess deep learning, teachers have to encourage students to make their thinking visible to them. For example, asking students how they arrived at an answer or conclusion, perhaps using a taxonomy of learning to guide questioning to ensure they are working from a deep level. A test at the end of a unit isn't sufficient. Assessment needs to be ongoing so that feedback can be provided to the student and knowledge continually built upon and deepened. This idea of teaching from the student's zone of proximal development via scaffolding is central to constructivist theory and is a valuable means of enabling students to deepen and cement significant concepts and principles, and gives teachers important guidelines for their planning.